Look at the screen. You think that plastic card in your pocket or that deed in the drawer makes you a master, but you are just a high-end tenant in a simulation designed to harvest your metabolic output until the day you rot. We are deconstructing the parasitic architecture of ownership, where the noise of the world tells you that you are building an empire, while the taxman and the maintenance loops are actually building a cage around your throat. Listen to the sound of your life leaking away through monthly subscriptions and property levies. That is the sound of the machine grinding your bones to grease its gears. You buy the car, but you rent the right to drive it from the state. You buy the house, but you pay the local lords for the privilege of standing on the dirt. You are not an owner. You are a biological battery plugged into a liability grid that calls itself a lifestyle. The noise of possession is the loudest lie in the acoustic rot of the modern city. They want you anchored. They want you heavy. A man with a mortgage is a man who can be silenced with a single email from a corporate office. A man with a fleet of depreciating assets is a man who has to work until his heart gives out just to keep the rust away from the metal. You are carrying a backpack full of stones and calling it wealth. Every item you think you own is actually a small mouth that eats your time. Your phone eats your focus. Your car eats your labor. Your house eats your soul. The biological leak is constant. You wake up and you are already in debt to the sun because the roof over your head demands a tribute to the system. They sold you a dream of stability, but they gave you a leash made of paperwork and recurring payments. The meat thinks it is winning when it buys a bigger box. The meat thinks it is safe when it accumulates more junk. But the architect sees the code. The architect sees that the more you have, the more you are had. You are not a sovereign entity if you cannot walk away from everything you have in 10 seconds flat without feeling the sting of loss. Most of you are so glued to your trinkets that you would let a parasite feed on your dignity just to keep the lights on in a room you don't even enjoy being in. The acoustic rot is the constant hum of the refrigerator, the buzzing of the smart home, and the ticking of the tax clock. It is a siege on your peace. They want you distracted by the maintenance of things, so you never realize you are the one being maintained. You are a machine. Your body is a vessel for extraction. When you buy into the illusion of ownership, you are signing a contract to stay in the meat grinder. They don't want you to have silence. They want you to have a lawn that needs cutting, a car that needs servicing, and a life that needs validating. Every time you pay a tax on something you already bought, you are being reminded that you are a subject. The sovereign man understands that real ownership is internal. It is the steel in your spine and the ability to command your own attention. Everything else is just rented equipment for the mission. If it takes your peace, it is too expensive. If it requires you to bow to a parasite, it is a chain. Look at your hands. They are calloused from working for things that belong to the bank. You are a ghost in your own life, haunted by the specter of maintenance. The system is designed to keep you in a state of constant repair. Repair your credit, repair your car, repair your image. It is a cycle of entropy that ensures you never have enough mitochondrial energy to actually revolt. You are tired because you are carrying a world that doesn't belong to you. You are stressed because the things you think you own are actually owning your schedule. The noise is deafening. The rot is deep. You are a tenant of the global server and your rent is paid in blood and time. We are going to cut the wires. We are going to look at the cold hard logic of the resource capture. If you cannot stop paying for it, it is not yours. If it requires a permission slip from the state to exist, it is not yours. If it can be taken away because of a missed signature, it was never yours. You are living in a temporary camp and pretending it is a fortress. The only way out is through the realization that you are the only asset that matters. The rest is just noise. The rest is just grease for the machine. You are a predator in a world of prey, but you have been convinced to act like a hoarder. Stop collecting chains. Start building the internal architecture of the sovereign. The tax is not just money. It is a percentage of your heartbeat. Every dollar sent to the void is a minute of your life you will never get back. When you realize that the system is taxing your very existence through the proxy of your possessions, you start to see the bars of the cage. The soft man loves his cage because it is decorated. The hardened architect hates the cage because he knows the cost of the wallpaper. We are deconstructing the myth of the stable life. There is no stability in a system that can repossess your reality at any moment. There is only the grip you have on your own mind and the resources you can carry in your own consciousness. The parasites are everywhere. They are in the fine print. They are in the yearly assessments. They are in the social pressure to upgrade. They want you to be a consumer of your own life. They want you to spend your best years polishing the walls of your prison. But we are here to talk about the escape. We are here to talk about the silence that comes when you stop caring about the ownership of shadows. Real power is the ability to exist without the grid. Real power is the ability to say no to the maintenance loop. You have been lied to since the day you were born. You were told that buying a piece of the earth makes you a man. I am telling you that being the man who needs nothing makes you a god in this world of beggars. The acoustic rot is fading. The truth is rising. You are not your bank account. You are not your property. You are the force that interacts with them. If that force is compromised by the fear of loss, you are already dead. We are going to strip it all back. We are going to look at the biological errors that lead us to hoard. We are going to see the evolutionary bug that makes us want to mark territory that we don't even control. It is time to wake up to the reality of the global server. You are a user, not an owner, and the terms of service are written in your own sweat. Stop looking for comfort in things that can be taken away. Stop seeking status in liabilities. The noise is a distraction. The silence is the goal. We are moving into the tactical execution of the sovereign life. We are going to learn how to move like a ghost through the system, using its resources without becoming one of them. You are an architect of your own destiny, but you cannot build on a foundation of debt and delusion. Clear the site, burn the decoys. The war for your time is the only war that matters, and you are currently losing it to a pile of expensive trash and a stack of government forms. Phase 2 is coming. The tactical extraction. How to exist in the noise without letting it touch your soul. How to handle the parasites without becoming infected. This is not about being poor. This is about being free. There is a massive difference between having money and being owned by money. There is a massive difference between living in a house and being a servant to the bricks. We are going to find the line. We are going to draw it in the sand with a blade of cold logic. No more apologies for wanting to be left alone. No more excuses for staying in the meat grinder. The architecture is changing. The architect is waking up. The noise is about to get a lot quieter because we are cutting the power. Tactical execution begins now. You are a ghost in the server, a sovereign entity that uses the system's infrastructure without becoming its property. To stop being a resource for the state and the bank, you must adopt the logistics of a nomad, even if you live in a skyscraper. The first step in the tactical siege is the decoupling of identity from geography. If the system knows where you sleep and what you own, it can predict your movements and tax your heartbeat. You must move your assets into the digital neural mesh, where the borders are blurred and the reach of the local parasites is limited. This is not about hiding money. It is about removing the handles that the machine uses to pull you back into the dirt. You use their currency to buy your freedom, then you exit the exchange. The strategy is simple. Operate as a ghost. Think as a king. Your primary goal is to minimize the surface area of your life that can be grabbed by a bureaucrat or a bill collector. This means liquidating the heavy rot. If an asset cannot be moved across a border in a single day, it is a potential liability. The sovereign architect favors high liquidity tools over static monuments of ego. Your car is a tool for transport, not a statement of status. Your residence is a base of operations, not a temple. When you strip the emotional noise away from your possessions, you see them for what they are, hardware. And hardware can be upgraded, replaced, or discarded when it becomes compromised by the acoustic rot of taxes and maintenance. Acoustic terror is the primary weapon of the domestic parasite. They fill your home with the noise of expectation and the vibration of constant need. To counter this, you must establish a sterile zone. This is a physical and mental space where no external signals are allowed to penetrate. In this zone, there are no notifications, no boring conversations about the neighbors, and no reminders of the global server. This is where you recover your mitochondrial energy. Most of you live in a state of constant biological leak because you allow the noise of others to resonate in your own ribs. You have a wife who nags, kids who scream, and a TV that lies. This is not a home, it is a resonance chamber for the system. You must cut the wires. You must enforce the silence with the same brutality that the world uses to enforce its noise. In the resource war family, and relationships are either force multipliers or energetic vampires. If your inner circle is made of meat that only knows how to consume your time and money, you are a walking casualty. The sovereign logic dictates that proximity is earned through utility and alignment, not blood. You must learn the logic of the saboteur. Live among them if you must, but keep your plans in the dark. Use the resources of the household to fuel your own ascent. If they want to talk about the weather or the news, you give them a blank stare and return to your work. You are a predator in a social sludge, and the predator does not explain himself to the prey. You take the comfort you need to keep your machine running, and you discard the emotional tax. The body is a machine that requires a heavy rhythm to stay sharp. When the world gets loud, you go to the iron. When the rot starts to seep into your brain, you find the cold water and the heavy lift. There is no room for the soft man in the fortress of the architect. You need the pain pain of the discipline to drown out the pain of the simulation. If you can control the breath in your lungs and the tension in your muscles, you can control the flow of information in your mind. The system wants you soft and distracted, but the sovereign is made of steel and focused on the hunt. You pashish while they sleep. You accumulate silence while they accumulate noise. The tactical finality of ownership is the realization that you are only passing through. You are an extraction unit. You take what you need from the global server, the data, the capital, the energy, and you store it where it cannot be taxed, in your skills, your health, and your private networks. This is the ultimate hack. They can take your house, but they cannot take your ability to build another one. They can tax your income, but they cannot tax your intuition. You become the asset. You are the only thing you truly own. When you reach this level of sovereign execution, the fear of the taxman vanishes because you are no longer tied to the things he can touch. You are a ghost in the machine, and the machine cannot grasp a shadow. The dream is not a white picket fence. The dream is a dog, a silent room, and a bank account that grows while you sleep because you built systems that don't require your physical presence in the meat grinder. The dream is the ability to vanish from a city in an hour and leave nothing behind but an empty apartment and a confused landlord. That is power. That is the status of a sovereign. You are moving toward the void where the noise cannot reach you. You are building a life that is lean, fast, and lethal. Every step you take away from the illusion of ownership is a step toward the reality of freedom. Stop being a curator of a museum of debt. Start being the architect of a mobile empire. The heavy rhythm is calling. The rain is hitting the glass and the clock is ticking. You have a limited amount of time before your biological hardware fails. Do you want to spend it polishing the chrome on a car you don't really own? Or do you want to spend it forging the steel of a soul that cannot be broken? The path is narrow and the gate is guarded by your own fear, but on the other side is the silence, the pure, clean silence of a man who owes nothing to anyone and has everything he needs within himself. This is the end of the extraction. This is the beginning of the reign.